Hello everyone, it's Linda Hayes coming to you today from Canada. I'm going back to Belize in about a week's time, and I want to share how I save money on my currency exchange. So I have a few resources that I want to talk about, and one of them can work with not just buying US dollars, but can also work if you want to buy other currencies such as euros or pounds. And my presentation, though, of course, is going to focus on US dollars because that's what I always need to get. So there's many different reasons a Canadian might need to buy US dollars. So as an example, me buying property in Belize, the real estate is transacted in US dollars. So my down payment, as well as monthly payments, and any construction costs are all in US dollars. So that gives a huge requirement for currency. In some other cases, there's people that have foreign workers. So I found out about one of these resources through a friend in one of my real estate groups who was paying a virtual assistant in the US. So she had to figure out an efficient way to get currency. Another resource that I found was through a different investor who actually has property in Mexico. So property is one of the common reasons you need money, but if you have any business where you're transacting in a different currency, obviously currency exchange can be expensive. So now I want to show a comparison of exchange rates. So this chart comes from Knightsbridge. So it shows that the Knightsbridge foreign exchange rate is 0.1% to 0.7%. And if you look at the other banks they've listed, it ranges from 2.6% to 2.8%. So way more if you're using one of the banks to transact rather than going through Knightsbridge. Now, if you use one of your regular banks, you could simply take your US bank account and transfer money from your Canadian account, but the bank obviously charges the premiums that are listed in that chart. Knightsbridge is different and has a better rate even than what I got as an employee when I worked at Service Credit Union. So the Treasury Department I talked to about what my employee rate was one day showed them what Knightsbridge had at the exact same time, and they couldn't believe how much lower Knightsbridge was to even the employee rate. And it's because of volume. So obviously, you still need a US dollar bank account if you want to deal with Knightsbridge, but the process works as follows. So what you do is you call, once you've set up the account, you call Knightsbridge and you tell them that you want to buy a certain amount of US dollars. So for example, if I wanted to buy $1,000, I would call the trading desk, say I want 1,000 US. They would tell me how much of a bill payment to make from my Canadian bank account, and then usually the next day or the day after, they would transfer US dollars into my US bank account. And I could use that to pay my US credit card or for whatever purpose I needed. So obviously I use Knightsbridge. I still do use them at times, and I'll explain why, but I'm now going to talk about another service that's even a better rate than what I get with Knightsbridge. So yesterday I needed to buy some more US dollars. So I called my foreign exchange guy, Darren, and I asked him to send me what his rate was at the time so that I can compare with what I was getting if I did it through Royal Bank directly, just to give this as an example. So my rate with Darren was 1.2555, so that means I was paying 12,555 Canadian to get 10,000 US. In Royal Bank, I have cross-border banking, so I just went in and said, how much do I have to pay to get 10,000 US? And the rate was 1.2786. So that means it would cost me an extra over $200 more to do it directly through my Royal Bank account. Now, if I was considering that on a whole purchase of land, say at 150,000 US, that means I'd be saving over $3,000. So it is very substantial. So now I want to talk about paying by credit card. So I like to use credit cards as much as I can because I earn travel points and then I just pay it off at the date that it's due so I don't pay interest on it. Now, if you're paying in US dollars, Canadian credit cards are even more expensive for exchange rates because they have an extra surcharge, and you can find that in your credit card agreement in the small print. I did use my WestJet MasterCard a couple of weeks ago when I made the first deposit of $5,000 on the land, and it was just because it was handy and I wanted to make the purchase. So the bank actually charged me 1.31%, and when I talked to Darren later on and told him my rate, he said I could have got money from him at about 1.26% at that time. So obviously all the future payments I was doing with him, it was just one where I wanted to make it quickly, didn't have my US credit card handy. So whenever you're making a payment on a credit card in US dollars, it's best to use a US credit card and then get the US dollars from Darren to pay the credit card back. So the process to deal with Darren is really simple. So you set up an account and he would send you an online form to do it. You then can call to make a trade, or you can do it online. Then you simply do an online bill payment in Canadian dollars, and the US dollars are in your US account, usually the next day or within 2 days. So if you have a need for foreign currency, you might want to get in touch with Darren. So you can give him a phone call or send him an email to help get set up, and just make sure that you ask for the special deal that I get. That way you can start getting better rates on your foreign exchange like I do. So make sure you reach out if you have questions through Buy Me a Coffee. And if you are in the US and you can't use Darren because he only works for Canadians due to regulatory requirements, I do have a resource for you. So just reach out if that's the case where you need currency, either euros, pounds, Canadian dollars, whatever it is, because I do have a resource to share with you. And I do have some of my QR codes here, including real estate investing, where I do talk about short-term rentals. I'll be adding more content in that shortly. If you want to travel to Belize, I have a lot of information there. And I also have Belize Real Estate, where I talk about rentals as well as real estate if you're looking to invest in another country.